Well, Bjorn Ulvaeus joins us now. It is, quite frankly, amazing to talk to you, Bjorn. Thanks for joining us this morning. Look, tell us...
It's a pleasure, Stephen.
Tell us about this report and just how concerned you are with the impact the pandemic has had on royalties for artists.
Well, in a funny way, it has put the focus on the plight of songwriters, because artists suddenly found themselves in the same place as songwriters have been for a long time. That is, trying to make a living out of streaming, which is very, very difficult. And the core of the music industry, for me, has always been the song. But somehow the songwriters have always been regarded as something in the periphery rather than the star of the whole thing.
So what needs to change then within all of this? It's perhaps giving a bit more focus onto the songwriters, but in terms of rebalancing the money, is that even possible?
I think so. And I think that there's a movement on both sides of the Atlantic now. I think that more and more people realize that the ecosystem is dysfunctional. It needs to be so that no part is unhappy. And as it is right now, more and more songwriters have to drive Ubers because of the imbalance. And there are several factors in this. There is the way that royalties are calculated from streaming services, which is, they every month the money goes into a big pot, and then that is divided by the total number of clicks that month, which means that each click gets, very, very little money. But most clicks go to the people who have been the mega players. And very little money goes to the people underneath that absolute elite layer. And so what I propose is a kind of user-centric, a kind of fan-centric model in streaming, where your subscription goes exactly to the people that you play.
I mean, in terms of the companies behind all this streaming, I mean, do you think they will be willing to look at this? Is this a sort of change they'd be happy to make?
Not happy to make, perhaps, but it will be something they have to make, I think, because it used to be that the elite songwriters, of course, could always make a living out of songwriting, but there was a layer underneath as well. And they could make a living during in the physical era. And they could manage to push themselves up to the upper level through having, the time and being able to afford to spend time on becoming better as songwriters. And it's a talent, but it's also a craft, and you have to hone your craft.
With that in mind, I mean, just how real is the possibility then? If it's just not paying enough money under the way the current system works, well, we're going to miss out. We're going to miss out on some real talent, aren't we?
I'm afraid so. I mean, I'm an example of what I mean, because before we won the Eurovision Song Contest with Waterloo, Benny Andersson and I had been in a rat race. We were running around producing other people's records, writing songs for other people, even going on tours, in different constellations just to pay the rent. But from Waterloo, when the royalties came pouring in, from that time, we could afford to say no to everything else and just concentrate on the writing. And that's when you get better at it. And that's what I wish for more songwriters today.
In terms of the public, in terms of us as listeners to music, do we pay enough then? Should we be expecting to pay more for streaming services? Because it is cheap at the moment.
It is very cheap, and this is a legacy from the beginning of streaming, when it actually saved the music industry from illegal downloading. But it's time, I think, and I think that the streaming services are thinking about higher prices in the future, because after all, to get all the music from the whole world, from every century, for $9.99 is very cheap.
I can't let you go without asking about ABBA directly, because people wouldn't forgive me. My father wouldn't forgive me. Joe, our cameraman, who's a super fan, would not forgive me. You have written music which, all these decades later, has stood the test of time. That there isn't much in the world of pop which you can listen to in 2021 that still sounds as fresh as the day it was released. How on earth did you manage that?
Yeah, I'm constantly amazed at that, and really, I don't know how it happened. We just recorded, the songs the best we could.